everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. Today we'll be discussing the shoulder joint. I'm going to go through this quickly. After that, I'm going to jump into doing the elbow joint, and that should be sufficient to cover all the joints of your upper limb. If you have not watched the upper limb video yet, go check it out for the bones and how they're situated before you dive into this video, because you really need to understand what's what and where are things. Okay, so today we'll be discussing the shoulder joint. The shoulder joint here, from its description, is the joint of the shoulder, how your upper arm is attached to your axial skeleton. And mainly the most important thing that you have to know is what bones articulate to each other to make that joint. So the articular surfaces, before we start about the joint, what type of joint it is. So remember from the joints video that I've done before, it's a type of synovial ball and socket. Why ball and socket is because this is a ball-shaped head of the humerus that attaches to the socket or the glenoid cavity of the scapula. So now that we've given him what type of joint it is, now we want to dive into the articular surfaces. So we have the head of the humerus, which is this one right here, articulates with the glenoid cavity of the scapula. So if you have studied and gone over the structure of the scapula, you'll be able to know exactly what the glenoid cavity is, and that's the articular surface of the scapula, articulates with the head or the ball-shaped head of the humerus. Just to point out that this head is not fully covered by the glenoid cavity. Okay, so that's the head, and in a way, how do I say this? The glenoid cavity is like it's like a small cavity. I don't know how to show you guys, but it's not covering it fully. So that's, let's say that's the glenoid cavity. That's how it attaches to it. Okay, but there is also something that extends from the glenoid cavity edges, called the labrum glenoidal. Okay, and from the edges of this glenoid cavity, it extends to cover the whole ball and socket, the whole ball head of the humerus. Okay, so um, this is the labrum glenoidal that extends from the articular surface of the glenoid cavity that touches and articulates with the humeral head at a very short surface area. So from this part goes on the labrum glenoidal that helps to create what I'm going to talk about next, the capsule. So here it is thin and lax. Don't know what that means, but it allows separation of the articular surfaces by 2 to 3 centimeters. Okay, so the attachments medially, you would notice that it is attached to the circumference of the glenoid cavity just outside the labrum glenoidal. Okay, medially. So one important thing to be said about this is that the supraglenoid tubercle, there are two tubercles I told you about, the supraglenoid and the infraglenoid. The supraglenoid tubercle is found inside within the structure of the capsule. The infraglenoid is found on the outside. Okay, it's not found on the inside. So you see here, the infraglenoid tubercle is excluded. Okay, what else? We have so many things that we're going to talk about for the attachments laterally, but I'm just going to leave it for us to move on. Just know, not very important right here, but within the capsule there are holes, and for those holes there are so many things that can pass and go through within these holes within the structure of the capsule. Okay, so the anterior perforation, the lateral perforation, and the posterior perforation. And for the lateral, you can see that the what is it called? The tendon of the long head of the biceps passes through here. So just an example, those things are openings to allow some structures to pass through. So I'm just going to move on and go to more important things. Now, we will you guys will definitely be studying all of those things that are supporting this capsule in the future. And I'm just going to mention some of them because most of them are not important right now because you're not taking muscles yet, but in the future you'd have to know. But just as of mentioning, so the supraspinous tendon is found here to be supporting this joint, and this is for that this tendon is for the supraspinous muscle, infraspinous and teres minor tendons. Whenever you say a tendon is an ending of a muscle. So these are the tendons that are present: infraspinous, teres minor, supraspinous tendon. Then also the subscapularis tendon, and all of those are coming from the correlated muscle names as well. Um, what else? Also, the tendon of the long head of biceps. So the bicep has two heads, long and short. So this is saying that the tendon of the long head of the biceps is also supporting this part. Um, what else? Um, and then there's also the tendon of the long head of the triceps. Supporting the capsule inferiorly. So all of those things are related to muscles that are found near the shoulder joint, and the tendons of those muscles are found to just extend over this joint to give it support. And these are the tendons mentioned here. Ligaments. These are the most important things that you'd have to know about a joint because anything related to studying a joint, you'd have to remember their ligaments and what holds this joint together. Tendons for now, I don't know. I've never been asked about to mention a tendon before when talking about a joint. I was always asked to talk about ligaments, but knowing those is also nice just to help you get a better understanding and a wider range of information. Ligaments, the coracohumeral ligament. Coraco from the coracoid to from the coracoid process of the scapula, humerus bone. So coracohumeral from this to this ligament. So you can see here coraco, and then you can see the humerus right here. So the coracohumeral ligament. That's the one. Okay, so it just helps to stabilize. Glenohumeral ligament, from the glenoid cavity or the glenoid articular surface to the humerus, and it has three ligaments: the superior, middle, and inferior, and it extends from here, as I said, from the glenoid cavity edge down to the humerus, and it attaches at different parts. And you can actually see and read more about what specific attachments or locations they take. Okay. Finally, the transverse humeral ligament. So here, it does not extend really from the scapula or anywhere related. It's just on the humerus itself, and you can see this ligament right here. It's called the transverse humeral ligament, and it's actually labeled for us right here. It actually runs over the tendon. Let me remember. Yeah, the what's it called? What is the tendon called? Yes, it runs over the tendon of long head of biceps. So this is my biceps, long head. It runs deep and enters between the greater tubercle and the lesser tubercle of the humerus, just in between them, called the intertubercle, I think, uh, groove, or I don't know what. Yes, it's called here. Yes, the intertubercle groove. The tendon just lies in that in that space between the greater tubercle and the lesser tubercle, and on top of that, joining the greater tubercle and the lesser tubercle, just holding this tendon in place, is the transverse humeral ligament. Okay, so this is also a stabilizing ligament. Okay, good. Intracapsular structures. I didn't study those much, but maybe keep an eye. You have the synovial membrane, you have the labrum glenoidal, which is the coverage around it, and then the tendon of the long biceps. I just talked about it. Um, what else? The extracapsular structures. These are the muscles and bursas that you'll be, well, the bursas are important. The muscles, not very much right now because you have not gone through muscles yet. So I'm just going to go into the bursas. What are bursas? What are bursas? They're like cushioning structures. Um, I think they're tissues. I'm not really sure, but they're just cushioning structures found in the bone region, in the joint region, that helps to cushion and keep the joint safe in a way. It's mostly surrounding tendons of those muscles and stuff like that to help prevent friction of tendons to the bones. So they're like pillows. Imagine pillows. They're cushioning in a way, okay? And you have so many of them on the shoulder joint. You have the subscapular bursa, infraspinatus bursa, subacromial bursa, a subcutaneous bursa, um, and maybe another bursa present between the coracoid process and the capsule of the joint. You can read more about those bursas. I don't want to waste time on them, but remember there are structures to help cushion the joint, okay? And it'll be good to just memorize those bursas and know exactly where they're located. So it's so easy to know where they're located because from their name you can actually get hints. So subscapular bursa, for example, lies between the subscapularis tendon and the front of the capsule of the shoulder joint, you see? So it's like that. It's around tendons mostly. Okay, so movements. I'm not going to go to the movements of the muscles, but I'm just going to go to the general movements of the joint. Flexion. Imagine you're sitting like that. So flexion of the joint of the shoulder would be like that. Extension would be to the back. That's extension. Okay. Abduction of the joint of the shoulder would be like that. Um, Adduction, it will be the opposite, which is getting your arms closer. I was always confused between abduction, adduction, and adduction. So, a quick, I don't know, tip that I always used: adduction comes from addiction, and usually addicted people to drugs, they'll always have their hands closer to their bodies. So that's why how I remember always adduction is getting close to me to myself. Abduction is away. Okay. Medial rotation is, how would I show this? So medial rotation is my arm here going towards my body. So that's medial rotation. Lateral rotation is away from the body. Okay. So that's the movements of the joint. Nerve supply. Let's see. Arterial supply. You would want to. I will. I will not tell you to memorize those things right now, but in the future, you would also learn about all of those arteries and stuff like that that surround those joints. So you'll have a better idea in the future. Mm, so yeah, basically, I'm done with this joint. You just have to know all the things that I've discussed in this. And in the future, I'll be posting elbow joint. We're gonna dive into this one. I really love this part. And then finally, the wrist joint, and that way your upper limb is basically covered. Thank you guys for joining. I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, please drop them down in the comments below or reach me on my WhatsApp or Instagram, whatever you prefer. Good luck studying and have a productive week.